City Hall, January 3rd, 2022, 5 p.m. We all rise for prayer and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, in your name we ask for your guidance in tonight's meeting. We also thank you for the new year. We'd like for you to look over our citizens, all of our workers, public works, fire and safety, police, city works, sewer, drainage, everyone who makes this city the great city that it is. We'd also like your continued guidance and to look over us in the future for all of our city proceedings and help us through the rest of this pandemic, and also take care of our soldiers abroad and stateside. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, City Secretary.
Mayor Bourne,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dugas,
Here.
Councilmember McAdams,
Here.
Councilmember Oliver, Councilmember Vinsel.
Here. I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. Item 4 will be approve the minutes of the December 21st, 2021 special meeting.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the December 21st, 2021 special meeting.
A second. I have a motion and a second for the approval of the minutes of the December 21st, 2021 special meeting. Do I have any questions? Have any questions? Being no questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dugas.
Aye.
Councilmember Vinsel.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5 will be reports and citizen comments. We have 2 reports tonight.
Lance has our chief has a report, and then I have a quick report after that.
Mayor, Council, thank y'all. I just want to give y'all an update on the fire station progress. We've had some delays. We talked about that a while back, about our bay doors not coming in time. We are still waiting on those. Checked with the site superintendent today. He said it's supposed to be delivered in Houston to the installer on Thursday of this week. We keep hearing that. Of course, Mayor, you're in construction, you know how it is. And we've also had a delay with our elevator installation. Their employees are coming down with COVID, haven't been able to get there as much as they wanted to. So we're getting a little pushback. We're still hoping, though, by the end of next week, hopefully we can get in there. So still shouldn't be too long. They're coming along really well with the minor stuff that they do. It's just a few things that are delaying us a little bit. But it's coming along great. We've gotten a lot of compliments on the building, and hopefully y'all are pleased with it as well. And speaking of COVID, I wanted to give y'all also an update on COVID. COVID is becoming a big factor in our area again. However, the hospitals are not inundated right now. This case that we're seeing, it seems to be more of sinus and headache issues with a lot of people, sore throats, kind of like the common sinus and allergy stuff that we deal with at this time of the year anyway. So I think that's a major factor in how this stuff spreads, is that everybody treats it as just regular sinus and allergies. And as long as they're not running fever, they go about their day because it's normal stuff for them. But with that being said, the HR director, Stephanie Gaspard, and myself are going back through our COVID protocols and kind of revisiting those things to kind of be a little bit more proactive in keeping it out of the workforce. We've done a pretty good job so far since this pandemic has started with all of that. We've had some infections throughout the workforce, but hopefully we continue, knock on wood, to not let it overtake our employees. Any other questions or anything?
No, but the fire station looks really nice lit up at night.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Thank you.
So on the delay for the doors,
Yes, sir.
if that keeps on, I mean, does that consistently delay y'all to move in? Or
Yes,
is there any
sir.
way y'all could move in without them? Or?
Well, that's something that we haven't really discussed with the builder or the architect yet. They really want us to have the ability to secure the entire building, but without the garage doors, we may not be able to. But we will have secured back fencing. So they're looking into it also for insurance purposes too. So we just have to wait and see.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next report.
Mayor and council, we just have a quick update on the economic development. The sales tax revenue is in for this year versus last year. It is up $31,278, and that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but that's $2 million in taxable sales that we had this year that we didn't have last year. If you haven't already been there to eat, Pizza Artista is open and doing so very well. The Hit Street was finished and has now 5 sites available. 2 sites have already signed on, Starbucks and Blue Wave Car Wash. Chick-fil-A site has been cleared and they are moving very fast. The Starbucks is dried in and our indications are it should be open by the end of this month. The bids were opened, well, you'll do that at the council meeting. Sylvia's Florist is closing. However, Edward Jones is moving in downtown. A young man named Weibel is going to be handling that. The foundation work is being done on the new Domino's. The revitalization of the former Spear Shopping Center is moving forward. If you haven't noticed, the owner of Lindenmeyer Park, Aaron Hebert, has demoed it. It looks great, and he will be moving his business there very shortly. And a local businessman is in negotiations with Renaissance Hospital to convert it to an assisted living center, and we're hoping that something will happen early this year on that.
That is all great news.
Sounds good.
That'll do it for the reports. Do I have any citizen comments at this time? Yes, sir. Come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
I hope I'm doing this at the right time, I'm not sure.
We'll let you know.
Good morning. My name is Kirk Mahaney. I live at 3848 Dunn Street in Groves, been here 66 years. So. I'm with the Jefferson County Amateur Radio Club, and I'm requesting permission to be able to use part of Lions Park for a emergency communications drill called the Winter Field Day, where we practice communications in winter conditions. We will operate with batteries, things like that. We have been looking at places, scouting an area we could set up where there's no infrastructure. We provide all our own stuff, no electricity from the city, no nothing. We looked around Lions Park and liked the area that was behind the baseball fields. I think where some of the people park for the events there, carnies and what have you, and looked like a hard-packed, good area right there. We have an emergency communications trailer, about a 20-foot cargo trailer, outfitted with radios and stuff like that. And this event will be on Saturday, January the 29th, and it runs 24 hours, 1 p.m. Saturday through 1 p.m. Sunday. Now, we do get there a little earlier than that for setup because we'll erect some portable temporary antennas. Our goal is to make communications with all 50 states in the continental United States, including Hawaii and Alaska. And previous events like this, we hope to make around 700 different contacts with different places and practice our ability to communicate with battery power, portable antennas. This is something that we do every year in the summer. This is the first time we're going to try it in the winter due to last winter's grid down situation and all our freeze and what have you. And we also work, I am the amateur radio emergency coordinator for Jefferson County. I'm also part of the Texas State Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service. Represent District 15. We operate a station at the DPS office in Beaumont. Support with Carmen Apple there. So And this is just something we're requesting to do. In the past, I believe the Amateur Radio Club has used Lions Park for similar things, and this is a request we'd like to be able to do. We would like to bring in possibly a small travel trailer to support ourselves, because we're going to be there 24 hours, and we get hungry like everybody else, and have a little kitchen part there. We have a couple of small generators that we might run, the little Honda 2000s that are very quiet. You can speak over them. I don't believe we'll be disturbing anyone. So, and that's what I would like to request to be able to do on, like I say, January 29th and 30th. And I had submitted some documents to,
They're on the agenda for January 17th meeting, Mayor.
Okay.
For action.
They are on the agenda,
Of 17th.
17th.
okay.
Okay. Well, we appreciate the information, and now that we know you're on the agenda, that's when we'll be able
Well,
to
I
act
had my
on
email
it.
that said I was on the agenda for today, but I didn't see it, so that's why I came.
You got bumped.
That's what, all right, I understand, I just wanted to make sure. But thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kurt. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Any other citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? All right. Item 6A, we consider awarding the bid for infrastructure improvements behind Lincoln Avenue to Texas Pride Utilities LLC, the low bidder in the amount of $122,570. Is there anything you wanted to say about this before
We
we?
got 3 good, competent bids, Mayor, and the bids ranged all the way from $164,425 to the low bid of $122,570. And we are recommending, as the engineer, that this council award this to Texas Pride Utilities. We've had some experience with them. Troy, didn't they do the job over off of Plaza? Yeah. They're a good company. They did a real good job and very neat.
We will need a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion that we award the bid for infrastructure improvements behind Lincoln Avenue to Texas Pride Utilities LLC in the amount of $122,570.
A second.
I have a motion and a second for the award of the bid for infrastructure improvements behind Lincoln Avenue to Texas Pride and Utilities LLC in the amount of $122,570. Do we have any questions? This is the replacement of the sewer line that was in private owned, and this is in our new utility easement.
Yes, sir.
And we will now own the main line.
Yes, sir.
But they will own the lines going to the
The
building.
laterals will still belong to the
Laterals.
property owners.
And the Texas Pride and Utilities, when you say the job off of Plaza, that's the one where they replaced a broken line under the concrete street?
Yes, sir.
And when everybody raved that they cleaned up very well and didn't know they were even there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
When do you think they'll get started?
I think they'll get started within probably 10 days. If once y'all award the bid tonight, I think, weather permitting, they should start in the next 10 days.
On this, did they have a time frame? How long it'll impact those businesses?
I believe so. Give me 1 second here. Hold on.
I don't either.
I'm looking.
See it either. Will the businesses be notified
Yes,
before they?
ma'am.
Okay.
They'll have to work hand in hand with the business because they'll have to be retapped. I don't have that specific information, but I wouldn't, it's going to be a pipe burst. I wouldn't think it'd be more than 30 days.
No, they won't have any sewer for 30 days?
No, they'll keep their sewer and then they'll
It won't interrupt their service.
It won't interrupt their service. Seems hard to do with a 30-day project.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's gravity flow, it's not like a pressurized line or anything, so.
All right. Have any other questions? Any other questions?
Do they have to notify the business owners before they start?
Yes, ma'am, they will.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Sitting back in 116 Wacky. If they're pipe bursting, doesn't that mean they're going through the old line?
Well, to be honest with you, I think they may have moved back a little bit, so they're going to maybe laying another line altogether
Right.
and just abandoning the original line. I wish I had the engineer here. He would know more about it than I do, Mr. Baden. But I don't know that they're going to be actually pipe bursting it, as I remember, because we're moving back a little bit, as I understand it.
That was my understanding too. So if they're pipe bursting, then they're actually going through the old sewer line, so it will disrupt the service to the line.
Well, as far as I remember, right now the line is pretty much not in service. So luckily, there's not a lot of going on back there. There's only a few businesses, and they very rarely are using the bathroom. But they'll make accommodations for them.
I just want to make sure that was clear that they weren't doing that, so that everybody would understand that the lines weren't being used because there's only a few businesses.
Right.
But it's going to be it's going to be a new line set beside that one, and then it's to the owner's discretion to get their lines hooked up to the new sewer line.
No, that's the part of the job is the new tap as well.
Right, from their existing line, from their building to the
Yes, sir.
new line. Yes, sir.
Yes,
But from the tap back to them is there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's their property.
Thank y'all very much.
Do they know this?
Yes,
We've
ma'am.
discussed this
Yes,
before.
ma'am. Yeah. They won't have any expense whatsoever.
Any other questions? Any no other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dugas.
Aye.
Councilmember Venzel.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams. Aye. Motion passes. Item 6B, consider changing the name of West Groves Park to John Spikes Memorial Park.
Mayor and council, I called Mr. Terrell a couple of weeks ago to ask him about purchasing a tree to honor John Spikes. And Mr. Terrell said, "Dee, why don't you just go ahead and name the park after him?" Which I thought was a great idea. So based on his recommendation, or his suggestion, we're asking council. John was a great guy. He took care of that park for many, many years. And he was involved with all the parks, but that one especially. So we thought it'd be fitting if council would authorize us to change the name of the park from West Groves Park to John Spikes Memorial Park.
Cool. I'll make a motion, we change the name of West Groves Park to John Spikes Memorial Park.
I second that.
Have a motion and a second to change the name of West Groves Park to John Spikes Memorial Park. Do I have any questions? Do you know his actual number of years of service?
Not specific. I don't know it. I can get it. It's probably somewhere in the low to mid-teens.
17.
How soon? 17, you said?
17.
17? How soon would they be changing it?
As soon as we can get a sign, a resolution, we'll probably go ahead and ask council to bless the sign design and then go from there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Being no other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dugas.
Aye.
Councilmember Venzel.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams. Aye. Motion passes to change West Groves Park to John Spikes Memorial Park. Item 6C will be discussed and consider approval of a change order and final payment on Hit Street project in the amount of $63,460, the retainage of $23,160, and a change order of $40,300.
Mayor and council, this was a project that we were doing in order to make the make Hit Street a public street and allow public access to 5 different lots. I think it came out very well. The engineer on the project is here tonight if you have any questions on the costs.
We'll need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion to discuss and consider approval of a change order and final payment on Hitch Street project in the amount of $63,460, retainage of $23,160, and change order of $40,300.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to consider the approval of a change order and final payment on Hitch Street project in the amount of $63,460, retainage of $23,160, and a change order of $40,300. Do I have any questions?
Yes. Can we get this explained about when up 40,000 and what the retainage is considered?
Good afternoon, Jeremy Mitchell, South Surveyors and Engineers, 7737 Dr. Straff. When I submitted the closeout documents, I did put together a little synopsis. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it or if you got a copy. If not, I can give you one, and then I can kind of briefly go item by item. Do you have a copy of that in there?
Yes.
So just jumping into the change order. So the change order was $40,300. When we originally awarded the bid, we had a bid of, give me 1 second, $262,350. And what we did was we took out an item for removing concrete, which was about $20,000. And we took out a line item for a conflict box. And so we awarded the bid on $231,600. So the reason I say that is out of that $40,000, we ended up using the conflict box. That conflict box is when you have like a water or sewer line that's in direct conflict with, in this case, the storm sewer. And so you put a sleeve around it and you build a concrete drainage box. And so above it we have a grate. So we ended up using that line item. So I say that to say this, our main change order was $30,000. That was the actual overage, because the other one was always there, it was accounted for. Now this $30,000, let's go back through there, we talked about that. 4,600 of it was what's called flowable backfill. And so if you're going from 39th looking down Hit on the right-hand side, there was a sewer line that was sitting there that we replaced as part of this project. So when they started digging, they got halfway down and they encountered a stretch of it that had been repaired in the past. And it was backfilled with some, not sandy material, but whatever they used underneath the road started caving into that trench. So now you have an unsecured road edge that you're going to have traffic on. So what the flowable fill is it's basically like a liquid concrete. We put it down there to harden all that up and solidify that. So that's the change order right there. Curbing. When we removed that line item for around $20,000 for drives, the city removed these driveways, which were on the Teller side of Hit Avenue. What was great for the city was it was bid out at $20,000, but when the city got in there and started removing it, there was a lot of it's hidden under grass. So that line item would have gone up if the contractor would have removed it, because they would have encountered more as they went. But that being said, when they took it out, some curbing broke, not because of carelessness, just because of the rules, just how it works when you're removing it. So we had to have a little bit of extra curbing. That was $2,300. So then we get into the main line item, which is essentially $20,000 of it was in concrete extra. And what happened there is, and again, I have some graphics if we want to look at them, but we crossed Hit Avenue in 2 spots. And on one of the crossings, what we did was Saltex walked the site with the contractor prior to construction. We verified what he planned on saw cutting, and then he brought his crew in and saw cut. There was a report given by me and also another consulting engineer when we looked at the original condition of Hit Avenue, and when that panel was pulled out, the rebar is supposed to be sitting in the middle of the concrete, and it was down in the bottom. So he digs this trench, the material under that portion of the roadway starts sloughing in just like the other one, and it popped that panel because that rebar was sitting in the bottom of that concrete, and it just kind of gave way and slid. So what we did was we went to the closest expansion joint that looked like it was in the best condition, cut it there and removed that spot. So it essentially doubled the amount in the crossing. And then there's a little bit more where, again, if you go out there, you can see up against the curb where the drives were taken, some of the concrete popped out, so we placed little squares. And then there was an issue with a gas line in 39th Street. We did what's called a one call to locate all utilities. From a surveying perspective, it never showed up. And then when the contractor went out there, it never showed up. But when they cut into the road, as pretty as can be, was this beautiful big gas line sitting in direct conflict with the drainage. So originally we were thinking, hey, we'll do a conflict box, which would have been an expense. But we went through with the gas company. They said, we don't accept that methodology anymore. We like to relocate. And in doing so, Dee was very helpful using his contacts with the gas because they had a long lead time associated with it. And once a little pressure was put onto them, they quickly relocated it. So there was a little bit extra that had to be saw cut to adjust through there. And so there was a little bit of extra concrete in that portion as well on 39th Street.
Which accounts for the 20,000?
Everything together is to 20,000. So the crossing, the small little pieces along the roadway, and a little piece on 39th. Let me show you a graphic. I think it makes more sense.
Well, you've got the conflict boxes, 10,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the flowable backfill, the curb replacement, additional concrete removal, removing subgrade, and then the storm sewer pipe.
Oh, I'm glad I completely got sidetracked on that.
That all adds up to 40,300.
Yes, ma'am. So I have a line item on there for pipe. And I mentioned how there was a gas line. Well, this one call indicated that AT&T had installed a fiber optic line, and it was up against that storm sewer system that runs down Hitt Avenue where the bank was, and it goes through and it goes under and out on the other side of the highway. And they wanted to relocate their line as well because it was so close to where we were going to work. Because what it is there's an existing 18-inch line that drained Hitt Avenue and went across, and we were essentially using the same exact location, removing it and putting this newer line in. Because of the time it was going to take for AT&T to do what they needed to do, the contractor started brainstorming. It was in their best interest to keep things moving. It was in our best interest to keep things moving because we had Starbucks. And so what we ended up doing is we moved that 36-inch line a few feet into that roadway, Hitt Avenue, the shoulder. And that is what I was talking about on 39th, where I had a little sliver I had to cut some additional and replace. And the compromise with the contractor was more interested in moving quickly. He absorbed the cost from 39th up to that new box that was put in. So it's about $8,500 is what it was calculated that they absorbed on their side. Does that answer the question?
Well, it says 15,700 the contractor covered. So this was in an email from Mr. Sosa.
Okay, I'm not sure that email. I just know what I've written.
Okay.
We talked about 8,500, 7,200 was what I was understanding.
Oh yeah, there's another portion of it too, unrelated to concrete.
Okay.
So when they were installing that sewer, I told you how we use flowable fill through that one side of Hitt Avenue. They installed it to one manhole and they backfilled the sewer line. That means cover it up and tamp it in correctly, do everything correct. And they started laying the next portion. There was a water line that used to go across to the teller side, probably for like fire or something like that, a suppression system. And there was a leak, and it was traveling through and getting into that trench along with rain. And so they laid a good portion of that sewer line, and then it floated because they had it partially compacted in, ready for the next day's work, and it just lifted it up. So that was the other portion that he's talking about. There's $8,500 for the concrete, and I think it was $7,200 for the sewer. So those two combined, those were things that, you know, it's not part of a change order per se, but it's more of a dialogue just to let you know where the contractor's coming from. That's something they absorbed as well. They didn't reuse the old pipe. They popped it loose, set it to the side, order new pipe and put it in fresh, put in all new backfill.
Okay, so if they're going to absorb that, we don't have to pay that.
No, that, again, that was just a background information.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, there's no labor cost in this 40,300. I don't see any labor
It's a
cost.
combined cost. So like you mentioned, removing concrete and replacing it with a subgrade, that's the stuff that's underneath the concrete road. Labor is included with material, and it's the same thing with the concrete. When they gave a price for the concrete, it's to deliver it on site, put the rebar in, work it, finish it.
What about permits? Are there additional permits that had to be gotten for this?
No, ma'am.
No?
I'm gonna show me what I'm looking at here.
I apologize, guys. Give me 1 second.
So all of this work has already been done. I went out there yesterday. I went out to Hid Street and looked at it and walked up and down it.
Hopefully you were satisfied with it. I think they did a very good job.
I think it looks good.
Yes, ma'am. So, you see this portion here? This is that piece I said that doubled. This was what they were working on, and the dirt under this portion was falling into the trench. So we reworked it, brought it back to here, and that was all replaced. And then I told you there was a sliver. That was that extra sliver for the adjustment of the pipe. And this hatched area you see is that $8,500. And that's the portion they absorbed themselves, putting new bays, cutting it out, pouring new concrete. Then I was mentioning to you about some other small little pieces that broke out during demo. Those little pieces there.
Okay.
And that's about it. Everything else is how it was. So, does that make sense?
Jeremy, other than the conflict box, which was originally talked about but then taken out, any way that you could have foreseen the caving in or the water leak in the water line or the gas line that wasn't there that is there that nobody saw?
No, this was just stuff that truly came up, true definition of a change order. I would have never known.
And of all the change orders, you know, the contractor ate 2 of them. But of the other change orders that were done, had they not been done the way they were, would that project be finished at this time?
No, we'd still be under construction.
And it would have caused demobilization of our contractor and possibly not got him back as soon as possible. Correct?
That's correct. We would have been gone for a while.
Can someone explain the 23,160 retainage and what that
Sure.
originally means?
All that means is usually a project is longer than this one. This one, we only have 2 payments, the first one and this one. And as the project goes, we retain a certain percentage when we hand them a check. So it's kind of like you want to put a new countertop in your house, and the contractor says, I want to get money for half of it now. I've done half of it. You say, well, I'll give you half minus some of it. I'm going to keep it in my pocket just to make sure you're keeping up on your part. And then at the end, I'll pay you the rest of it. So retainage is about 10% of the project, and it's our way of holding it. If there's a problem or something going on, we have that money there. It's there to make sure they're going to go out there to get the rest of their money. It's the
Has
retainage.
Public Works done its final walkthrough on Hid Street with the contractor? Have y'all signed off? Waiting on us to sign the check? So retainage is fit to be paid at this time. They're contractually finished. The job is finished 100% and accepted by the city as far as construction goes. Okay. So now's the time when we would pay our retainage
That's correct.
of whatever percentage we held out.
And the main thing to stress is these change orders aren't a blind change order. When these items did come up, the calls went to Troy or to Dee or whoever, explained what was going on, why we need to do it. They came out, looked at it, and agreed it wasn't just a unilateral we're going to do. It was all of us working together to make sure it's what's best for the project.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate the explanation and the pictures and the breakdown of the numbers. That helps us make a decision. Do you have any other questions for Mr. Jeremy? Any other questions from just in general? Mr. Sosa or Troy or anyone?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Eddington, 3800 Russell. I know originally, I believe it was around 80,000. Do you know what the total cost ended up being? Was it close to 300,000?
For the project,
Yeah.
Two.
271 maybe? Is that
271.9.
271.9? And then I know originally we had talked about some of it being paid with EDC and some of it being paid with the grant. Is that still the case, or where's the rest of the money going to come from?
it was split up between EDC and infrastructure and streets, and the change order we paid by streets.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Being no other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dugas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wenzel.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 7, City Attorney. Doesn't look like we have anything for you today, sir. Thank you for attending anyway. Item 8A, Invoices, City Manager.
Mayor and Council, the invoice approval list for January 3rd, 2022 is as follows. Sabine Equipment, 2 Gorman-Rupp self-priming centrifugal pumps, 2 at $30,250 each for a total of $60,500. Neal Technical Services, 4 and 6 inch valves for Grit Basin at wastewater plant, $8,050 for a total of $68,550.
Make a motion that we approve the invoice approval list of January 3rd, 2022.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second for the approval of the invoice list for January 3rd, 2022. Do you have any questions? Mr. Sosa, the pumps, were those a surprise or were those budgeted?
Pretty much, because they've been rebuilt 4 times, and they were, well, when I say a surprise, we've got a maintenance budget to take care of stuff like that we
But
don't.
we weren't planning on buying 2 new ones, but we ended up having to. Okay. Same thing for the valves?
Yeah, that was part of that root removal basin that they had to do the work on, and they were stopped, but we couldn't fix them, so we had to replace them.
But those all goes into the maintenance budget? Okay. Any other questions? Any other questions? Being no other questions, we'll vote on the motion. Mayor votes aye. Mayor Pro Tem Dugas.
Aye.
Councilmember Wenzel.
Aye.
Councilmember McAdams.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 9 would be council member comments. Do you have any council member comments?
I'd like to remind council to turn in their zoning maps when they get a chance.
Oh, okay.
That's a good idea. Remind council to turn in their zoning maps when we get a chance.
Okay.
Any other council member comments? Happy New Year, since I didn't get to see anybody. Merry Christmas late, and let's hope 22 is better. Meeting adjourned at 5:38.